It's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for responding to our DM like a month ago. To be honest, I wasn't expecting it. I mean, I've DM like 50 known people, and only 5 responded. 4 of them came. You're number 5, and it's a kind of a rule of yours, right? I mean.
Yes, of course. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Yannos. It's a pleasure being here. And I cannot even think of not responding back, either to Yannos, your podcast, or to anybody else. Even to people that I will not be attending, I still respond back.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, and the thing is, I've told you, I think because you're very busy and you had a lot of content to put out there, I think you might kind of need someone to handle your brand, your personal brand. I mean, post there on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube, video. You need to distribute your content out there so more of it can be seen by many.
I totally agree with you, and you also need ideas.
Yeah.
Because if it's a one-man job or a one-woman job, in my case, it's not a one-man job because I have a right-hand man, Michalis Solomondos, who has been, his help has been tremendous. And
he's part of your team?
He's part of my team.
Yeah, that's
and he used to work at Google in the past.
He left?
He left.
Yeah, Leon told me.
Yeah, he even knows your sister as well, who works at Google. And
why did he leave? I mean, who leaves Google?
Yes, I think he left because he wanted to find his North Star. Maybe his North Star wasn't at Google. And sometimes it's not about fame, money, or
position,
being in the right position. Sometimes it's about finding your North Star. And in his case, he wanted to start his family. He wanted to work as a freelancer. And I'm very happy and fortunate that our paths have crossed.
For the ones who don't know you, can you introduce us? Can you introduce yourself to us? I mean, 5 minutes. Who is Michael Virardi? What do you do? I mean,
of course. If I start to introduce myself in a professional sense, I would say that Michael Rolando Virardi. Rolando is my late father's name, so I always put it in the middle there. And I help teams become more effective. Those teams can be smaller teams, teams that are based here on our island in Cyprus, or bigger teams in terms of size who are in New York, Hong Kong, or the rest of the world. I'm active in approximately 20 countries. I help them communicate better, build trust between them, and collaborate at the same time. Having said that, in terms of communication, I work one-on-one with C-level executives, and by C-level executives, I mean CEOs, chief executive officers, CFOs, chief financial officers.
High-end positioning.
Yes, because once I mentioned C-level executives and somebody thought that are executives that are in the C-level. So I had to explain that.
Captains.
Yes.
On a boat.
And I work with these people either one-on-one or with their teams to help them perfect their communication patterns, because everyone communicates, but very few people connect. I help them communicate and connect at the same time.
Do you find that market in Cyprus to be opportunistic or not even existing?
The market in terms of public speaking, communication?
In terms of needing your services.
Oh, I find that there are companies who need my services, but there are not many companies who can afford my services. And I work with executives high up in the hierarchy, either in banks, shipping companies. And if I take a look at
in Cyprus,
in Cyprus, yes. If I take a look at whom I worked last year, you will see companies like Columbia Ship Management. You will see companies like the European University. And even some other companies like Andreotti Furniture.
Yeah.
But most companies now, because I've broken out of Cyprus and into international waters, and as I can see up from your notes, we're going to be talking about pricing. Not many companies can afford my pricing nowadays.
You go for the big fish. I mean, revenue, it's important for what we do. And in Cyprus, the thing is that watching it from our own perspective, prices in Cyprus for services won't get you far. So going global, it's competition, it's tremendous out there. I mean, it's quite hard, right?
Yes, it is. It is. And that's why I've set up the rule 777. I respond back within 7 seconds, 7 minutes. If I'm not doing anything, I respond back in 7 seconds. If I'm doing something, I finish and I respond back. Or I respond back in 7 hours. So I finish a workshop and then I respond back. Why? Because even if you are 1 in a million, if you are great at what you do, either in podcasts, either in training and development, in a 7 billion population, there is another 7,000 people doing exactly what you do at the same capacity you do it.
And how do you differentiate?
So how do you differentiate? So by being prompt, people attribute many more things to you, that you are reliable, that you can get the job done. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do your push-ups in terms of gaining your knowledge and becoming a specialist in what you do. Hence the reason I've been to Singularity University this year for a week. Hence the reason I'm going to London for a psychometric test that I would like to become part of and approved. So I'm doing my push-ups, but I'm saying that you need to be more than what you are. And you need to, in my case, I'm prompt. I would like to respond back to Janos and his team. I like to be prompt with my customers, either prospects, customer, or somebody who I know they will never come on board.
Yeah, and that comes, it's executing and over-delivering.
Yes.
A kind of a time management thing. I mean,
under promise and over deliver. So promise you get it by Tuesday 11 a.m. and get it on Tuesday 9 a.m. People start forming a picture about what you do, and they start understanding that this person will be reliable, will be there when we need him or her.
Yeah.
And that's it. At the end of the day, imagine if I told you I'll be here at 9:30 and I came here at 9:55. Immediately you start making some assumptions. Not necessarily this is true, but you're still saying that Michael doesn't respect our time.
Yeah, you're building a reputation around you. It's like part of your branding. And the thing is, when I DM'd a lot of people at your own level, I felt like they won't respond. The ones that did, I felt like a positive energy, and I went into a state where I could easily feel that Michael is a good guy. I'm gonna message him and he is going to respond. And that's human communication. I mean, it's the basic. I mean, respond to another human. And in business, you're doing business with humans. You're not doing business with companies. You're not doing business with, I don't know, machines or robots or bots or I don't know. You're doing business with humans, and that's the core of the business. And you've been to Google lately, right?
Yeah, I've been to Google lately.
Please share. Please, I mean, can you share the experience? I mean,
I will share my experience, but let me come back to something you said. I believe, since I was at Singularity University and we were talking about AI, artificial intelligence, I believe that the people that machines will replace, that robots will replace, are the ones that act like robots.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're right. We're not bots. We're human beings. We need to respond back. And I will also refer to something you said at your own level. I think my level or any level is the level that you respect the other person opposite you, irrespective of how much money you have, how much fame you have, what you have accomplished in life at that certain time. And I believe you're as good as your last performance, as they say in theater. So I judge people's level not by the money they have, not by the fame they acquired. I judge them by their behavior. And that's the level I want to be on. So if my level are the people who responded, the 10% of the 50 people you directly message, DM, then that's the level I want to be on.
I was talking the other day, I don't know with who. I think it was my partner. And I told him that, no, it was my best man. And I told him that one of the things I'm trying to do last month is that I want to say good morning to strangers when I'm like walking or going to a coffee place or something. I mean, exchanging a smile and say good morning. It's like passing positive energy. And today I went to a cafe to grab a coffee, and I saw a cleaning lady. She was a foreigner, and she looked at me, and I could see by her face that she was expecting not to pay attention to her and not say anything to her. And she gave me kind of a sad looks. And I approached while I was going to grab my coffee, and I said, "Good morning, how are you?" And I smiled, and she smiled back. And then I left. I might never see her again. But the thing is that I've given her positive energy. She received it, and she's gonna use it for the rest of her day. I mean, and it's in business, it's exactly the same thing. Being kind.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Being kind.
I totally agree with you. And that's why when I was working at our family business, Virardi, which deals with catering equipment and tabletop supplies. So if you go at virardi.com, you'll see the company.
Virardi.com.
Yes. That's why when I was working there, I issued business cards for our cleaning lady. And I think we were, I don't know if we are, the only company in Cyprus that the cleaning lady had business cards. And if you look down at the people down here, they might all have business cards, or you two guys, you might have business cards. Why shouldn't our cleaning lady who works here have a business card, either cleaning department or whatever title you like? I had cleaning department, even though we didn't have a department, we only had one lady. So, yes.
And I always judge people by the way they behave to people that they don't have they don't have an interest on them.
Yeah,
like a waitress or a cleaning lady or the postman. I mean, you can see the real you or me or Kyriakos when you like monitoring their behavior in that kind of situations.
I agree with you. And yes, that's it. And if we go back to your question about Google,
yeah, I'm very curious. I mean, kind of jealous. I mean, in a good manner. So I've been to Lien's offices.
Yes,
I've been there, and I've seen the famous Google offices and stuff. It's exactly the way they describe it.
Yes.
But you need to like be there for a couple of months to get the inner feeling of working
the full
at Google.
essence. Sure. If I can sum it up in one word, it's abundance. Abundance in terms of chocolates, abundance in terms of fresh fruit
M&Ms
that are peeled off and you do your juice. Abundance in all the accessories that you need to have to do your job.
Rooms, restaurants, playgrounds.
Coffee shops. I mean, the best coffee shops I've seen traveling around, I believe, are in Google. And it was abundance.
That's why they kick ass. Yes. That's why they will like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and the companies that invest on their working environments and their people, they're going to survive and they're going to flourish and they're going to lead the business world out there.
They're already doing it.
Yeah.
They're already doing it. So in terms of in terms of summing it up in one word, I would say abundance. In terms of
what about the people?
The people, yes, I was coming now to the people. Like-minded people. I've read Google's book, How Google Works, and they have a process of interviewing people, which I immediately took back to my brother, who's a managing director of Virardi.
Like 4 or 5 interviews.
4 or 5 people, summing it up in one page. Whatever you put on that page, that's the thing. Half an hour meeting, so you cut to the chase. Half an hour interviews, not longer. And then you get a reply back. But they have a great procedure. I'm not going to go into all the procedure.
Yeah.
They can read the book, How Google Works. I read the book. I loved the book. And from there, you can understand how like-minded people hire like-minded people who are not exactly like them, but they're unique in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And having worked now with my friend and right-hand man, Michalis Solomondos, I can see what it means to work with like-minded people who are different than you and can bring to the table
extra value,
their ideas, and make you look good or great, and add value to your business. There's a question
we got on our email. Let me have a look at it. It's about partnership. I have a partner. And the thing is, you said that bringing in like-minded people, how does that come under the spectrum of partnership? I mean, Michalis, it's like an employee, right? I mean, he's not a partner. But when it comes to partnership, because we got an email about, do I partner with a friend? Do I partner with a relative? Do I partner with someone? Or do I go alone?
Okay.
What's your position?
I'll tell you, and maybe we can answer another question by Philippos Aristotelus, who asked, what's the one quality that a person should have when they go into a startup? So we can marry these two together.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to answer Philippos Aristotelus' question and also your question at the same time about partnerships.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Yes.
Let me like possible question. What's the key skill that an entrepreneur requires when creating a startup so as to build an effective team?
Okay. So I will say, if I will answer Philippos' questions, I will answer it by giving 2 skills. The first skill is to be humble enough to understand that there are skills you don't have, so you should hire those skills.
Yeah.
There are certain skills that people don't have, like in my case, and I can go later on deeply in there. So I hired those skills with Michalis, okay? The second skill, and it comes from my experience with Shark Tank, when I see startup founders pitching their startup, I think it's being able to sell your idea. Because most of these people are great engineers, most of these people have good ideas, but they cannot communicate it.
Yeah.
And in the Shark Tank,
the sales thing,
yes,
the business
when the investors are there to invest, they say, I cannot see it. You're not selling it to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good idea, but I cannot see it. So people need to create a picture. They need to be able to communicate and connect at the same time. And my experience has shown me that a successful startup has at least two people. It was Steve Jobs selling the idea and Wozniak creating the idea.
The back office guy.
Airbnb, and again, two people. So you need to have the sales skills, or somebody should have the sales skills to be able to pitch the idea so people can see the idea. And secondly, you need to be humble enough to understand what you don't have, so you will hire that. So I said like-minded people, but I didn't say same skills people.
Yeah.
So like-minded in the way they think, but bring a different skill onto the table, because we are it's no longer a one-man or one-woman job. No man or woman is an island. You need a second person.
Yeah.
And now that I have somebody on board, I can understand my flaws. Now that I have somebody on board, I can understand how somebody can think better than me and help me look good on stage.
Yeah, and get the best out of you. I mean,
Correct.
I'm really happy, and I'm really lucky that my partner kind of completes me and supports me and being positive on the things that I'm negative, because I'm an optimistic guy, but there are days like I'm full of pessimism. I mean, we're humans, right?
Yes, correct.
You need someone to like cheer you up, bug you up, add an idea. There are cases where one of our clients, perhaps, let's say, will judge our work or our service, and I will like get angry or mad. And then he comes in, he like calms me down, and he says always, okay, let's look at it this way.
Yes.
And he goes on.
And the reply is vice versa as well. And maybe you do that for your partner as
yeah,
well.
I do.
Yes,
I do.
well,
I mean, we complete each other. Yeah. Another question we have, I've got an email from a friend. He works at insurance. He like manages a team of people, and he's interested in leadership. And he tells me that I think I don't have it being a leader, but people like me. And before giving us an answer, I would say that he's already a leader, but he doesn't know it because people like him. So what's your advice on that?
First of all, we need to define what a leader is.
Yeah.
I believe if we're talking about positive leadership, which means empowering others, giving control to others, helping others to be able to help you at the end of the day. So positive leadership, the opposite of positive leadership isn't negative leadership. I think it's positive management.
Yeah.
Because in positive...
They're two different things.
Yes, because, I mean, that's my own definition. It's not in a book.
There are a lot of definitions of leadership.
Positive management is doing things by the book, is looking at people and seeing numbers instead of human beings.
Yeah.
And if your friend who's in the insurance industry, people like him, he has a vision, because a leader needs to have a vision. If you're in a dark room, the guy who can light the way and lead the way and show the way, that's the leader. But he or she should also be positive in getting others to support them in the process, and he or she should support others as well. So I don't know exactly what your friend does, or how does your friend define leadership.
He has an insurance like agency where they like cooperate with different insurance companies. It's like a partner or something. And he runs a business of like 10 people. And he's struggling. I mean, I've got an email from him, and he said that, how do I make them be like me? Something like that. And when I asked him, what's your relationship with them? He said, they like me, they're happy, but I cannot see them perform the way I do. Yes. I don't know, he like misunderstands leadership with management.
Maybe your friend has control issues, and maybe your friend wants everything to be perfect. His aim should not be, in my opinion, to make them like him, but he should let them be like them.
Yeah.
And if they can bring a task to 80% success rate and completion rate as he does, then he's a winner. They don't need to bring it at 100% as he does.
Nobody will.
Because they
don't own the company.
Yes, because they will free time for him to do other things and expand his business or do whatever he does or whatever he likes to do or spend time with his family. So at the end of the day, he shouldn't be looking to make them like him. He should be looking to make them like them. And at the end of the day, your friend needs to understand that perhaps no one can do it exactly like him, but we're looking inside ourselves and we're a bit thinking that we are perfect. Maybe we're not perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
And from the day that I got somebody to come on board, I understood my flaws, whereas when I was alone, I couldn't see them, all of them at least.
And a thing that most people get wrong is that nobody will love your company the way you do. Nobody. It's not their company. They don't have shares. They don't own it. But like you said, you can't get the best out of them, like 70%, 80%,
of course,
and so on.
Or maybe you can make them shareholders in the long run. Yes.
Yeah. Is it a good idea? And let me share a secret with you. Once you answer this question, is it a good idea to give shares to loyal employees?
You cannot answer, it's risky to answer a question and make it a rule because it depends on which company, which case, and which person is there as a partner.
Google does it.
And Google does it, of course. And at the end of the day, you need to see the bigger picture. Where do you want to be? And if you need other people to take you there. It depends. In my opinion, yes, it's a good idea because, as I said earlier, no man or no woman is an island, and it's not a one-man job, especially in today's fast-paced world.
You can't go alone.
No, you can't go alone. And it's the age of specialization. In my dad's days, we had the motto, the complete hotel supply company. We were doing everything for everyone. But today, if you do everything for everyone, you're out of business.
Yeah, you will lose.
You will lose. So as you have a vision for this podcast, and it's only one vision, and you shared it with me, that's exactly that your friend or the insurance guy should have a vision. Define that vision and see if he can do it alone or if he needs partners. In my opinion, he needs partners. Sometimes they're shareholders, sometimes they are not.
Yeah.
And you don't need to give shares to somebody to become loyal. There are other ways as well.
On my previous job, on one of my assessments like 3 years ago, I asked, can I get shares of your company? And of course they said no. And I felt like I need to disengage. I needed like a name to belong somewhere, to own something. And that was when I started thinking, okay, it's time to move on. But like you said, it depends.
Yes.
Case by case. People are different, people demand different things.
Correct.
And so on and so on. But the business environment in Cyprus, how do you find the business level in Cyprus in terms of the relation between an employee and an employer?
First of all, I'm more active abroad than in Cyprus, but I worked for many years in Cyprus. And
is there a difference?
There is a difference. And in certain cases, you cannot stereotype everything. But what I see working abroad is that a lot of managers are thirsty to learn new things, whereas sometimes, and I'm not talking about everyone in Cyprus, sometimes in Cyprus we believe we know everything when we reach a position. And it's like education. You haven't graduated from a university and you said, even if it's one of the Ivy Leagues or the best universities in the world, and said, that's it, I know everything. It's a continuous process. The moment you say that I know everything, the moment you stop learning, the moment you stop engaging with either podcasts, online learning, visiting, either taking courses or taking seminars, that's the moment that I believe that you're losing ground beneath your feet.
Where's your next stop? You're going to
I'm going to Tallinn, Estonia. I'm going to be speaking in front of 300 people. It's called PARE. It's the HR consortium of the whole of Estonia, and there are people flying in from all over the world. Companies like PwC.
Do you have children, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's the perfect time to ask you the next question. We also got it through an email. How do you balance your working life with your family life? You keep traveling all the time. I mean, I'm following you on all social media platforms, and one day you're there, Google, Ireland, France, I don't know, then Cairo, then Thailand. I mean, how do you manage that? I mean, do you have time for your family?
I have a lot of time for my family. And now, as we're speaking, my wife is in Israel conducting a seminar for her company, Amdocs. So I'm home alone with my son.
She's a speaker as well?
She became a trainer because she was working for 4 years with me as well.
Okay.
So she was immersed. She's very good at what she does. And as the HR manager of Amdocs in her department, whatever, she's doing.
What about the children, though? I mean,
a child.
A child.
One. Yeah, 6-year-old Rolando. So for the next 3 days, we are home alone, the two of us, and
24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, 24 hours. Okay, he goes to my mother. Like today, I'm gonna finish from here. I have a meeting opposite the street, and then I'm going back to pick him up from school. We have lunch together at my mother's, and then after I go to my office, and then I have a meeting at 5 o'clock. So there is time, but quality time. I'm not talking 24 hours non-stop. But yesterday I picked him up at 6 from my mother. We went to TGI Fridays. We had the new vegan burger because I'm pescatarian. I eat either vegan or pescatarian. I don't eat meat. Then we went home. True. Yes, of course.
What's a pescatarian?
Pescatarian, somebody who eats half the animal kingdom, fish, but doesn't touch meat or dairy products.
Yeah.
I used to be vegan, but vegan, when I was traveling abroad, I had a lot of difficulties finding the food that I wanted. So I incorporated fish into the equation.
Okay, that's relevant, but how do you live without meat? I mean, did you eat meat when you were young?
Of course. No, younger. I mean, I started this the last 6 months.
6 months? So you're like a junior vegan?
Junior. I haven't even graduated from kindergarten yet.
So you're not going to eat souvla again?
No, souvla. When you say again, I take it either day by day, but because nothing is urging me to eat souvla, I'm okay. And after I've done my analysis the last few weeks, I've seen tremendous results in terms of cholesterol and the rest. Yeah. So this is another story. We won't go into that because then maybe some people will think I'm trying to influence their kids.
Yeah. So anyway, you were talking about your child.
Yes. So yesterday we went to TGI Fridays, then we went home, then we played PlayStation, then we slept together. He came into his mother's bed. Today I dressed him up. I took him to school. I had my coffee early in the morning and I just came here. So I'm investing time with my family. And when people ask me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see your turnover? Even at Singularity, we had to come up and say where we will be in 10 years' time, either making an impact in the world or making turnover. And I told them, and I really mean every word, I don't want to grow my brand. I'm happy what I'm doing now and my turnover. I enjoy it a lot. But at the end of the day, I want to be healthy with my family, grow my family, have another child as well. And I'm happy. And some people look at me and say, in terms of turnover, I'm happy with what I'm doing now. Yeah. And I do not want to expand my brand. I'm not saying I want, but I don't want to expand it. I'm enjoying it. And when you see me abroad, you see me abroad for 3 days or 2 days. And I take an extra day to stay in the country and see the country. Yeah. Stay and see Ireland. Stay and see Tallinn. Even though I stayed at Tallinn 3 years ago when I spoke at Ericsson. And I've seen Tallinn, but I'll stay another day and see Tallinn as well.
I mean, you've been to how many countries?
I believe I'm
business destinations.
Business destinations. I've been active in 20 countries.
20 countries.
Yes.
Have you been to the US, right?
US, yes. Every year I have a company there, the American Piano Club, which I train. In the last 2 years, I've been there to train the team. Yes, coaching one-on-one.
Do you see the same business culture in these countries, or I mean, the way they see the world, the way they see the market, the future? Is there a difference, or business people are business people?
I think business people are business people, but the fast pace that I've seen in New York, I've been in boardrooms with their board of directors. I've been hired by the president himself.
Is going to New York.
Yeah, I heard. And your sister, Leanne, just people know. And it's fast-paced. When I was in New York, I used to sleep at 8 p.m., wake up early in the morning, had a powerful breakfast to have the energy, and I was working non-stop. And only the last day that I had a full day to enjoy, to go to a stand-up comedy, I was working non-stop. And I was working 12 hours. I didn't even notice I was working 12 hours. Where in Cyprus, it's a different pace.
It's extremely slow. When I was in New York like 2 years ago, We were walking down Soho and I stopped by a lady. She was selling stuff on the road. And I told her, wow, I'm in love with New York. I'm in love with Manhattan. It's amazing to live here. And she answered, she replied, you're a tourist. You came here, you don't work. You just go around. When you work and when you live in New York, it's totally different.
I believe she's
the rhythms
right. Yes.
are like massively fast. But I believe people tend to fit where they fit. Some people, they don't fit in New York. Some people fit in Dubai. There are a lot of people working in Dubai, foreigners, because of money. And talking about...
It depends on your aspirations. It depends on your aspirations.
What's your aspiration, Michael?
I told you, my aspiration is I've grown my brand to where I wanted to grow it.
Yeah, you feel happy.
I feel very happy. When I go to Tallinn to address 300 people and I have half an hour on stage, I used to dream about this, and I used to wake up in Limassol every day in the same bed, and the best I could was to train a company in Cyprus or in Limassol.
You were dreaming of it.
I was dreaming of it.
You were seeing yourself.
I was seeing myself flying, having a car pick me up or taking a taxi, going to my hotel. The next day training a team or giving a speech, conducting a seminar or delivering a speech.
Without doing it ever?
No, never, ever. I used to wake up in the same bed.
Were you practicing on the mirror?
Practicing on the mirror in terms of what?
I find myself talking alone sometimes.
I'm always practicing in the mirror when I practice my speech. I wasn't practicing my goals or my dreams in the mirror, but I was dreaming my dreams.
No, the execution, the seminar thing.
Yes, of course. Whatever seems flawless, whatever seems easy to do, there is a lot of preparation. And I always say, show me a speaker who's comfortable on stage, and I can tell you about his or her preparation. And people think it's the other way around. They think they are gifted. I believe if I would say that I am gifted in inverted commas because I cannot talk about myself, it's because of all the preparation that I put in there. And I've written a post about the USA and the 50 hours I've put in there just to be in New York. And
can you name where people can follow you so that they will have an idea? I mean, there are people that don't know you. Yes. For the ones who don't know you, do you have how many social media platforms?
Of course, they can go to www.michaelvirardi.com, or they can follow me on Facebook, Michael Virardi, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Do you have a Twitter account?
Twitter account, of course.
What about a YouTube channel? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel as well. Perfect. And if they go to michaelvirardi.com, they can see all the channels there. They can follow the social media.
Can you give me an advice? I'm a junior when it comes to public speaking and stuff. I mean, I love it as well. I also see myself in 10 years going on stage and talking to people and inspiring them and giving them value, but I don't prepare. And when I go to stage, I don't want to prepare. Perhaps I'm wrong, but it works until now. The level is not so high. I go to schools, yes. I go to workshops, small, medium businesses, and I'm talking about marketing and social media, but I don't prepare myself. Is it bad, or do I have to Okay.
I would say that to fail to prepare is to prepare to fail. You say it works, but it can work better.
It can
work better. And people are polite. If you go up and ask Kyriakos, for example, how did I do? He will tell you, you've done great in this podcast.
They would never say you suck.
No, but the thing is that I've written it in the book that I've given as a present before in Θετική Εμπειρία, Positive Impact. I say that when you ask a question, the question
means judgment?
Yes.
Is it judgment?
Yeah, like judgment. It was translated differently because it's a word of play with words.
Η κρίση θέλει κρίση.
But if I can stay in the previous subject we're discussing, if you ask me as a presenter, how do you find me from 1 to 10? Out of politeness, I might give you 9. And then you ask me, okay, Michael, how can I get to 10?
Yeah.
And that's the moment of truth. And it depends how you ask people or how people come up to you and talk to you and what questions you ask. Most of the times, we don't want to hurt our ego and we try to preserve it. So we like to listen to the good things. If you prepare, I believe you're capable enough from what I see. If you prepare, then you will do even better.
How do you prepare for public speaking? Not public speaking, for speaking in front of an audience.
Yes.
Do you have 5 rules of preparation?
First of all, I take because I have an online program coming up now. We're going to be selling an online program which is stand up and stand out. Stand up, comma, stand out. And it's already recorded. It's already finished, and it's going to be coming. It's going to be in circulation in a month's time. It's already finished, and I give all the tips there. I'll tell you some of the tips. First of all, you start with a blank piece of. I start with a blank piece of paper, and I try to jot down. Literally, I jot down my ideas. So people need to have a takeaway advice on what you want to tell them. So you need to know what you want to tell them. So when I go to Tallinn, probably and most likely, I'm speaking about positive leadership. So I want to tell them the five characteristics, even though there are 20 characteristics, of a positive leader.
So the subject, it's about
positive leadership. Right. Yes, what we discussed earlier.
And you write it down on a piece of paper.
Yes, I write it down on a piece of paper. So it's positive leadership. First of all, I'm not going to go in and say a positive leader is someone who does this. I need to define it in a way that people can resonate with me and understand it. So I need to start with a story. So I go back and think, which is a story that I can place in there? Because people lean in forward when they hear stories. Like we were kids. Me. Yes, like you now. Yeah. So once upon a time, we were brought up by grandmothers or mothers who were saying once upon a time. So they lean in forward. So I need to start with a story. Instead of saying a positive leader is someone who does this, so you start with a story. So which is that story that can get my audience, the C-level executives who are up there, that will get them to lean in. So I write down 2 or 3 stories that I believe can get them to lean in forward. Then people will want to know, what's the opposite of positive leadership? So the opposite of positive leadership isn't negative leadership, it's positive management. Acting in accordance to numbers, looking at human beings and seeing numbers. You say you've done well because you've reached your budget, you've reached your goals. So we need a leader that will act differently. A man, a woman, male or female, doesn't matter. Then break it down into 5 characteristics. But each characteristic should have a story because, as I said earlier, people are absorbed in stories. And then, as I say in the online program, how do you go about talking about the story? A story needs to break up in 3 parts. So I won't go into detail and confuse people. And then you need a conclusion.
What about the audience? I mean, did you study the audience before you
go? You should study the audience because the audience, it's not about you as a presenter.
It's always about them.
It's about them. It's about them. If I come to a podcast and people hear your story instead of my story, then it's your podcast, it's not my podcast. People want to hear your guest's story. So you need to touch upon things. So I went to Manhattan, I saw a lady. If you go into your story for 20 minutes, it's about you, it's not about me. Yeah. So you need to turn it on its head.
Kyriakos mentioned that.
Yes. And sometimes even if you have that urge to say your story, you are the reporter, you are the person asking the questions. You should cut that urge down. Exactly with your audience. I want to praise myself. No, I need to praise my audience.
Yeah.
So it's about them. The show is about them. And
give value.
Give value to them. So if they walk away and get value, that's it. You can stand up there and act like a smart guy and say, I'm Michael Virardi, I've done this and that, but you lose your audience. So if you praise, if you say something positive, you show them. You put your hands forward. If you say something negative, you show at the back.
Do you work on your body language? I mean,
of course you work on it.
Does it come naturally or do you study?
I think it comes naturally, but you also study it. Because I'll give you an example. If you want to say, you didn't see that coming. You don't say you didn't see that coming. Some people don't see this coming. So if you accuse somebody, you never accuse your audience. You accuse somebody at the back. So if you say, as you might have noticed, and I understand that you understood it, you show them. You praise them by showing them. But if you want to say something negative, you show at the back. You never attack your audience. If you attack your audience, even if you attack one person in the audience, you are wrong, my friend. You have attacked the whole audience and they unite together.
Yeah, and that's like stop. Like
yes. Yeah, and if you are conducting a seminar and somebody jumps up and says, communism is the best way to go about it, you say, thank you very much for your opinion. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, and you do like this.
You get them to discuss with them. You never accuse, no, you're wrong, my friend, you're wrong. If you say that, immediately you get your audience to attack you. And they will say, Michael, I don't believe you're right in this sense. John is right, or Janos is right. So at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about your audience. You start with a blank piece of paper. You think how you can engage your people with stories, because not every great speech is structured in the form of a story. not every speech is structured in the form of a story, but every great speech is structured in the form of a story. So you need stories to engage your audience.
Yeah.
And then what value you're going to get to, you're going to bring out. And at the end of the day, it's about them, not about you.
Wow. And of course, it's always in English, right? I mean, you're
No, it's not always in English. I started the year speaking at Practica in Greece, and it was in Greek, in the Greek language.
No, I mean, nowadays, when you go...
yes, of course. It's always in English, yes, abroad. But in Greece or in Cyprus...
in Greek. What kind of companies do you address your content? I mean, not in terms of level, but industry.
The shipping industry, I'm very active in the shipping industry. And in the past, and also this year, I work with a European university which has to do with education. So I was helping build a bridge between the management and the rest of the team, a culture enhancement project. This year, I'm starting a huge project with Vasilikos Cement Works, which are in the cement industry.
Yeah.
So I'm starting a huge project which will involve...
They want to expand or something?
They are already expanding. They're turning over 100 million. It's a project that will help build the culture within the team, within the company. So we're starting with one-on-one coaching, interviewing, and then working, getting into classrooms.
Yeah.
So I work with cement. I work with shipping industry. I work with the retail industry.
What about fashion? I mean, did you touch the fashion industry? Can you go into various industries as Michael Virardi, or do you find yourself that I'm onto that mainly?
No, it depends on the topic. If it's public speaking, communication, you give me any topic, any industry.
Like personal development.
Yes. So if you come to me and say, I'm going to a school and I want to speak about podcasting, or I want to speak about Lien or about Google, I can get it for you. I can deliver the goods.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's innate, if it's a gift, or if it's about reading and about having a diverse knowledge, I can deliver. But if I go into a specific industry, for example, like with the American P&I Club, the American P&I Club insures ships, okay? It's an oligopoly. It's only approximately 12, 13 clubs, and they have an oligopoly. They have 90% of the shipping industry.
Yeah, they control the market.
Yes, and price-wise, if you want to jump ship, if you want to jump from one insurance company to the other, you are forced to have the exact same price. Yeah. So if somebody wants to leave from Virardi and go to Tran, you need to give Tran the exact same figures, some same prices. So you cannot jump ship and have a different price. It's the exact same price. So how can you differentiate in that market? So I jumped deep. I read their journals, I read their balance sheets, I read everything, all the literature I could get before I went to the States. And I started my seminar in a way that I got them engaged. I gave everyone a lemon. I asked everyone to become friends with their lemons.
It's like breaking the ice thing.
Yes, I broke the ice, and then I told them, bring your lemon and place it inside a bag, black bag. They put it. So I asked them to come and find their lemon. The lemons looked exactly the same.
Did you post it on LinkedIn? I think I saw it.
Maybe I posted it.
The thing with the lemon.
70% of people found their lemons. And then I asked, how can you differentiate in a market that everyone looks the same? And from there, we started discussing how these people can differentiate in a market that everyone looks the same and everyone has the same price. I even had a price tag of, let's say, $10 behind each lemon.
Yeah.
So which lemon would you pick? This $10 lemon, this $10 lemon, or this $10 lemon?
And they were exactly the same.
Exactly the same size, exactly the same shape, even the same color. And at the end of the day, it had to do with the person behind the brand, the person behind the camera, the person behind the microphone, their personality and how they come across. So we worked on that personality. So I went and dug in deep. I had meetings. I flew myself to Greece, where the president flew himself from the USA to Greece. And I met him at a symposium and I interviewed him. And I paid from my own money, from my own pocket, just to learn more about the company. So whatever I do, I dug deep, I do the preparation, because to fail to prepare...
Does it take long?
It takes long, but as soon as you finish and you take a day off in New York and then you take a plane to come to Cyprus, you feel like a hero. I would never like to feel like a loser, that I went there and people said, we shouldn't have hired Virardi. Yeah. So, and tell you that we want you to come back. And I've been back the last 2 years at the same company. That's the vote of confidence. Even if you ask them if you're good, they might say yes. But to bring you back for a second year, that's the vote of confidence.
I personally like the negative feedback. I don't like compliments. I like the negative feedback. And when I read or listen negative feedback, first impression, my first, I react very selfish. Why? You're wrong. In a matter of seconds. Then it goes by, and I try to okay, how do I make myself better based on that negative feedback? And it's not data at scale. It's just a comment, but a comment can impact you. And talking about international public speaking, I also have a question of a well-known friend of yours who asks how to grow training business internationally. Doesn't mean how to,
maybe how to get outside the borders of your country.
As a trainer?
As a trainer or as a speaker. I think the person who asked is a person from India. If I'm not mistaken, he wants to break outside his country's borders. And
language matters?
Of course, language
Accent matters?
Accent doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No, accent. Leanne, your sister, when I was at Google, she asked the question, what would you say to people who are not native speakers? And Leanne speaks fluent English and with an accent. And I told her, it doesn't matter. And the example I gave at Google is the same example I'll give now, and then I will come back to the question from your friend. I don't know if you follow football, but
I do passionately.
Yes, there was a great football player by the name of Milenko Spoljaric. He used to play for my team Apollon, and that player was one of the best players I've seen in my life. But he never played.
I remember him
in Europe at the top level, only because of one reason: he was very slow. Amazing player. I played against him 5-a-side. Amazing player. I saw him on the pitch. I used to go to watch games. Now I don't go anymore, but I used to go and watch games because of Milenko Spoljaric. He told me something. The ball travels faster than a dribble. So if you're a slow player, pass the ball faster. So if you're not a native speaker, be succinct, prepare a lot. Do not use overcomplicated words, because if I ask you which is your favorite politician and I don't want an answer, probably it's not someone who uses complicated language. Even though you maybe have graduated from Harvard, doesn't matter. People want to understand what you're saying in a succinct way, and if you can get to your point fast, get to the point and finish.
The Canadian Prime Minister, by the way.
Yes, of course. The Canadian Prime Minister, I like him as well. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have an accent or not. Surely it matters if you know how to speak the language and if you're fluent in the language, because then you will lose people. But at the end of the day, if you don't have an accent, if you're speaking with an Italian accent, be the Italian master. Bring it on as an advantage.
Yeah.
Speak with that accent.
Make it your selling point.
Yes, make it your selling point. And to get back to our friend from India, how do you break outside your country's borders? I believe now is the day. Now is the time. Because in the old days, when I wanted to advertise about a workshop, I used to go to Φιλελεύθερος, pay 400 Cyprus pounds for my ad to...
A quarter.
Black and white to appear for one day, and that was gone.
And to everybody.
Today, you have social media, and you can post there, and you can bring your brand out. But you need to remember, is this post a boost to my ego or a boost to society? If that post is a boost to society, you're giving them value and you're getting back credits. If that's a boost to your ego, then you're losing. So get your brand right. So that's why I invested to do a website that was 3 times as much as my budget would allow, but I overstretched myself, and no one will hire me because of my website. But if an HR manager who saw me at, let's say, Google, for example, talks highly about Michael Virardi to another HR manager, and that HR manager from another company goes into my website and will say, I like what I see here.
Yeah.
And
First impression.
So I invested with a company called komigraphics.com in Greece. So I invested 3 times the amount that I had originally budgeted. Secondly, I always think, as I said earlier, is that a boost to my ego? So today I got invited to this podcast. No, if you start with it's a boost to your ego. You need to talk about them, not about you, and make it relevant to your audience. Do they care that you were invited there? Is there value that they will get out of that podcast? And if you give me that recording, will I cut something that I act smart, or will I cut something from there to show on social media that will give value to my audience? That's what I'm looking for, something to give value to my audience.
And this comes the same tactic when we communicate our brands.
Exactly.
Especially on social, because I always tell them it's 80% branding and 20% sales. When you, 10 minutes or 5 minutes? Okay, let's wrap it up.
Yes.
I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to give you the chance to conclude, Michael. I mean, when you like go on a sales strategy all the time, people tend to go on the defense mode. And it's always about my product, myself, I'm the best, I'm that. But when you talk about them, that's when you like flip the thing, and it makes your sales easier. And let me say another example. We are preparing content for a salad company about Game of Thrones. I don't know if you're watching Game of Thrones. Season 9 coming up. So what we do, it's like we like grab the attention of people by something they are interested into. We are placing them that interest from our point of view, our brand, and we connect. We don't sell. We don't say our salad is best. So it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I want to conclude this with one of the many questions we have. I don't know, want to pick one, Michael? We talked about balanced life. We talked about growing during crisis. No, we didn't talk about growing during crisis. It's a huge chapter. Maybe
some people are interested. I don't know if we have time about the price.
About failure. Can you conclude with failure? I mean, how do you handle failure? Is failure part of the game? Is it necessary to fail?
I think failure is the pathway to success. You need to fall down and to be humble enough to understand why you've fallen down and have the courage to stand up. I believe failure is a pathway to success. If I look at my speeches from 10, 15 years ago, if I look at the seminars that I conducted from 5, 10, 15 years ago, I feel that I am a complete failure. But I had to go through the process. And when somebody came up to me and said, "You are gifted, Michael. There is one thing. Be careful with your slides. It's death by PowerPoint. It's too many wording there. You need to revert to stories." And I said, "Chris," his name was Chris Galouridis, "but how do I revert to stories? Where do I find these stories?" He said, "Wait 10 years and you will have the stories. As long as you are observative and you look at, and you have patience and you also observe. There are stories everywhere to be found." So observe and bring stories. Forget slides, forget wording, and give stories. And nowadays, most of my presentations don't have a single slide. At Google, I went with 0 slides. At Tallinn, probably I'm going with 0 slides.
Is it okay? I mean, I don't use slides as well. I hate slides. And
in the past, I couldn't. I needed slides like crutches to help me on going, to help me continue going.
I find that there are obstacles instead of crutches.
At the end of the day, you are the star of the show together with your audience. And when I use slides, I use a photo or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can imagine if Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream," and you saw the sky at the back with a slide and the word dream. It wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same. So I'm not going to go into slides, even though in my online program, I have a section especially on slides, how to make them look greater, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, as the Chinese say. But as you grow more experience, maybe you need less slides or no slides at all.
Yeah, and you have plenty more stories to tell that replace the slides.
Of course, of course, of course.
Michael, I'm really happy having you on the show.
Likewise.
We're gonna air this with subtitles. I mean, you will see this somewhere here. I'm like showing Greek subtitles. So excuse my Greek-speaking friends. You can follow Michael Virardi on LinkedIn, Michael Virardi, Instagram, Michael Virardi, right? Facebook page, Michael Virardi.
Instagram, maybe it has a tag
underscore
like Michael underscore
yeah,
Virardi.
His website is www.michaelvirardi.com. YouTube channel, Michael Virardi.
My YouTube channel, it's MRV Simple Techniques, whatever. They will find it from the website.
Yeah.
Because the guy who created the YouTube channel put MRV Simple Techniques, which is my company's name. and it was a mistake.
Yeah.
So now we
You
need
can rename it, I think.
I
don't
believe
know.
so, but we will try to rename it. It didn't allow us to rename it. So at the end of the day, we will find a way to rename it. And yes.
Thanks a lot, Michael. It's been like a pleasure.
My pleasure as well. Thank you very much, Yannos. You've been great.